my resolve may not be where it once was, where I was so determined and locked in with intensity. Some of that intensity might have edged off.
Can we get it back?
I hope so.
Oh, no. I don't like that answer at all. Last weekend, I had a bright idea, or so I thought. I figured, why not bribe Jeff with something that may accelerate this process a bit? So I sent him a text message on Sunday. I said, hey, I was like, if you can weigh less than 300 pounds by the time you visit me, which is supposed to happen in 2 months, I said, I'll give you a TV. Because I got a TV that I'm no longer using, and I know Jeff has some interest in that television set. So I said, look, I'm going to sweeten the pot. I'm gonna really light a fire underneath his competitive spirit, because usually that gets some pretty good results. Usually, I mean, I had never seen an exception to this. So I figured, man, I offered this to him, and this weekend goes by, and I can't wait till Friday. I can't wait. I'm gonna see if if this is gonna work the way that I thought it would work. And it worked all right. It accomplished something. It just didn't accomplish what I thought going in, which is I figured we're gonna be at 1.7 pound weight loss for this week would be great. But I did not expect, after 14, or it's actually 16 weeks of consistent progress each way in, weight loss, the first ever breaking of the streak. It was inevitable. I'm sorry, but I thought the streak would possibly be the complete opposite, where, it would take 16 weeks for us to have some positive news to report. So this doesn't faze me at all, other than we have to diagnose exactly what caused this to happen, because you reported to me this morning when I saw the scale pop up on the screen, and it was, for the first time in 4 months, higher than it was last week by 1.7 pounds. So I have not talked to you about this. I have no idea what's happened this past week. I mean, I could venture a guess or two, but in my own head, I'm thinking, because I'm trying to brainstorm, what might have propagated this type of progress or lack thereof, because we've had 4 months of the opposite. So I'm thinking, is it cycling away from the 2-week holiday of free eating, which was an incredible time, I'm sure, for you and everybody else in this world? Was it the seizure that mentally threw you off? Or was it quite possibly Jeff experimenting to see how much he can get away with week after week after week after week, and getting a bit cocky, and then this week deciding to push the envelope a little bit further than he has in any prior week, and then coming up short at the end of the week? Now, I don't know which one of these. I don't know if it's all 3 or 2 or 1, but you can provide some insight, because you know exactly what happened this week. I have a number. I don't know anything else. I want you to fill me in. If you had to give me an analysis as to why this happened versus what happened the past 4 months, give it to me. I want to know.
Yeah, given those choices, I'm going to have to lean towards my own arrogance.
How arrogant were you? That's the first question that pops into my mind, because I know that you don't have like the greatest memory on the face of the earth, so you can't give me a blow by blow, day by day breakdown. But I'm sure you can come up with some highlights.
The thing is, whatever it wasn't worth this. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. I can't point to any times where I was just living the dream, if you will. There was a couple days where I had a couple candy bars, as I tend to do, but that I've been, it wasn't like the 5 or 10, depending on how you look at it, day. It wasn't like that. I will say, I intended to go the day before the weigh-in yesterday. I intended to go a whole day strict no carb, and I found myself having lack of willpower to go without a candy bar. So I did have a single, you might look at it as two, candy bar, but the thing that was most disappointing, I guess, as I look back at that, is that was like I mentally told myself going into the day I was going to be able to control that, and that seemed to be beyond my wherewithal, I guess, at that moment. So it could have gotten, in a previous life that could have been a lot worse, but it was probably a moment where I felt least control in a long time. So I wasn't really happy about that, but I felt like I needed it. I mean, I don't know how to put it. And so I'm gathering stress played a role in that. And, my schedule this week was different. We had some days that were interrupted due to weather. And so things at work were shuffled around differently. So my schedule was different. And so I did, I guess now I think through that. I indulged a little bit on the weekend with the family, but nothing out of the, realm of norms, even for the last few months. Let's see. And then, generally my routine has been, Saturday, Sunday be looser. And then, Monday through Thursday, I'm really a lot more on task, if you will. But this week, just for the different schedule and everything, I probably started my mornings with a little bit later meal. And I mean, I think it, I can't think to anything where I was just like out living the high life. It was just I was disappointed to see what I saw today.
Well, tell
I was
me,
not
your
expecting
Friday,
that result.
not expecting it to be up. Your Friday versus your Friday of weeks past, you had your candy bar. I know that you had said on Thursday, rather, your Thursday prior to weigh-in, you would want that to be a strict day. You try to make that as strict as possible because that would help the weigh-in. So it will counteract anything that you've done or some of what you've done in the past. So you try as best you possibly can to make that a strict day. How does this past Thursday, yesterday, compare to the other Thursdays on average? Was that candy, would normally on Thursday you just be completely strict? Are there Thursdays you've had that candy bar as well? How does that just contrast how that would be different in any way, or if this was just the candy bar sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't, even on a Thursday?
Yeah, probably, I'm guessing it's 50-50. I haven't really tracked that specifically, but I really, I mean, I think my intuition told me that I should be stricter, and so my mindset yesterday specifically was cut that out, don't do it. But I just did not have the willpower to say no. I guess I haven't noticed that. That's the part that was not, I hadn't noticed anything like that in the previous months that have been so successful. If I went into the morning with a strong goal that I was going to go carbless that day, then I would have had, in those weeks, I would have had the determination and the ability, whatever it is, the combination was there for me to say no and hold to it. And for whatever reason, yesterday was just not a good day. I gave into that. That was all that I did. That broke the rules, if you will, but it was a moment of, I observed my mental weakness for the first time in a long time when it comes to that.
I feel as it's more than likely the combination of one being away for an extended period of time. You had Christmas, Christmas Eve, Christmas, and New Year's Eve, New Year's. That period of time where things for an extended period, you were away from work, you were having fun with food, and it was extended. It was the longest period throughout this entire process where you decided to just kind of throw it to the side, not completely, but 70-80% of the way there, to the point where you were just going to enjoy yourself, try not to regain too much weight during that period. It wasn't, more than a couple weeks. So you were still going to try and be mindful of making better choices during that time. So you didn't do too much damage, but you wanted to have fun. So you took that period and you enjoyed it. And then you had the seizure unexpectedly. So that combination of being off schedule, eating that kind of food, and then the disappointment of that happening, all of that, in my estimation, just has weakened your resolve coming out of it going into this week. So that, and then whatever, any work stress, you throw all that together. And then on Friday, when you were in a position where you could say no, normally you would just push it aside and say, no, this week, this day, I'm going to be strict. And I know that I have to be, I know what the goal is for tomorrow, but you just didn't have enough wherewithal to be able to push through because of all those factors. You throw all that together and it just, your willpower drops. You have less strength to be able to overcome, because of all of that in the aggregate. You throw all that together. So that means that, the further we move away from that holiday eating, which getting back into your normal work schedule and the seizure gets into the rearview mirror, that your resolve can start to strengthen and you can get back on a streak. And obviously, in order to create a streak, you got to have some weight loss that precedes you. So that way you can grasp onto something and propel forward. I think the thing that's motivated you is week after week is seeing results and seeing the scale improve. So that has given you the motivation during those times where you would otherwise indulge to push back because you still had that goal in mind. But when you have an extended period away like you did for the holidays and you have more of a free reign when it comes to what you eat, and then you have an unexpected event like the seizure, and then trying to get back into that regular path that you were in before after all this happens, is a lot of times it's a difficult restart to be able to capture enough momentum in your own head when you're coming off a period of stagnation. Because if we look back at the numbers prior to Christmas, it was 327.2. Then there was no weigh-in for a couple weeks because because of the holidays, and then the seizure happened before the proposed weigh-in. So it was a 1, 2, 3 weeks until we got the 326.2. So you were a pound less after that 3-week period, and which is a tremendous accomplishment given everything that had happened, the holiday eating and the seizure and everything that you had endured. But coming out of that now, getting back into the routine to make further progress, has probably been, I look at it as being a challenge mainly because you're attempting to formulate that motivation, that game plan, that motivation for week after week to be able to consistently do what you've done, which is combine the foods you enjoy with a moderation approach to be able to reduce totally the amount of consumption that you would normally have in a week when you compare it to what you've been doing in the past. And you were successfully doing that week after week with results each and every week. And then you have a period where not much is happening and you get a looser diet, which is something that when you have food cravings and emotional eating, it becomes very seductive. Then it's can become difficult to break out of that right away, just because it was something that was happening. that preceded you, plus the stress of an unexpected event, all of this happening at once, it's difficult to get back on track enough to be able to propel yourself forward, and especially when you combine the desire that you have to try and loosen things up as much as you can to see, how much you can test the limits of how far you can go. Obviously, on Thursday, where you had that event where you ended up consuming the candy bar when you thought that you wouldn't have, that's just that one day. In the days prior, um, you were probably, without giving it much thought, um, because you hadn't reached Thursday yet, so it wasn't the day before the weigh-in, you were probably being looser on the diet, subconsciously, as a way to numb yourself out, and being able to get away with whatever you can get away with, not knowing what that would be, because the weigh-in hasn't happened. And then when Thursday hit, it's like, I'm the day before the weigh-in, so I'm going to try to make up any lost ground that I've had in the past few days. And then that happened. So, and the fact that you were aware of it happening, in other words, you had made in your own mind, you had made a goal of not having anything that day, being strict, and then you weren't strict. And then, that's a bit demoralizing, just because it was something that you consciously wanted to do and then didn't happen. So going into that weigh-in, you were probably very curious as to what, if any damage was done as a result of that. And then that, we're talking a pound, 1.7 pounds. You're still in the 320s. It's not, when this is a long-term strategy like we have, you're going to have weeks, and we haven't had any, and this is the first one, but it has to happen. There's going to be weeks where things don't go the way that they were expected to go, and you're going to end up having a little bit of a bounce up. And really, the way you rebound from this is intentionally, in your own mind, decide what I'm going to try to do, next week, that was different from the week prior, in order to try to regain at least that pound a week momentum, because the average is down to 1.3, and it was as high as 2. So it's down to 1.3. That's the total average since we began, minus that first week. So you wanted to maintain above a pound, or you wanted to maintain at least a pound a week as an average. And so you're still above that. So what do you think that you can do and will try your best to do going forward in this week that was not done last week, in order to try and counteract this, now that, since it's 1.7 pounds, it's nothing insurmountable. You're still in the 320s. The long-standing goal you've had is, anytime you get down into a lower bracket from the 330s to the 320s, is to never be in the 330s again. And you've done that. You went from the 350s to the 340s to the 330s to the 320s, and the 320s now. You've never ever, since we've been weighing, creep back into the 330s. So you're still 2.1 pounds away from that. What do you plan on doing this week that you think would be sustainable, in order to try and promote that, while still not encroaching on what it is that you feel that you need to do in order to make it livable? Considering what you've done in the past, and considering what happened this past week, in your own mind, what do you think that you would be capable of, if you would need to plan in advance, without getting strict and structured, but in your own head, this is the game plan for the week to try and turn it around?
Yeah, I think I guess focused on specific, staying true to specific limits, especially on weekdays, when I'm working, has been a recipe for success. So really don't vary much. I keep it, I mean, there's some variation, but philosophically, I'm pretty locked in. And I guess, as far as like what I'll indulge in, it might be that candy bar on like a Monday through Wednesday. And so But Thursday I should be able to hold off, and so I think I feel, unfortunately, I feel like I need something to look forward to like that. I can limit it to that, but
That's the
at
key.
this moment, if you ask me what's something that I can commit to really giving a great effort to this week coming up, it would probably be locking in on those weekdays to having one treat that is, carb loaded, and then, but I can see myself sticking true during the meals to everything I've been doing, where, that's really just the one source a day. And I feel like that's been successful. So, and, with a little bit more relaxed on the weekend, not anything absurd, but just, not being completely obsessed with, counting carbs on the weekend. Strategic about what I'm eating and, the amount I'm eating, but not feeling like I'm doing without a whole lot either. So I feel like that's worked for this entire time. But yeah, I guess I need to be really, disciplined to keep the number, like that candy bar number, at a 1 instead of even thinking about multiple, which I've done probably, most of those days up until, yesterday was probably 2 a day. So, yeah, I think I have to just,
that's the plan. That's the plan, is
yeah,
to take what it is that you're doing and trim it down, because you clearly, just by pure instinct, we're going to test to see what you can get away with and still lose weight. Why wouldn't anyone? That'd be like, you'd be the biggest fool on the face of the earth if you love to eat and you're not even going to try and see how much you can eat and still achieve weekly results. So I give you an A+ for effort and planning when it comes to that. All right. I just have no criticism whatsoever. You have to see how far you can go. This is the reason why that, we've had 4 months of progress, and you can't look at 1 week where you take a very, very tiny step back as failure, or as, even if you want to tone it down, as something to be disappointed in, because you learn from that. Full well, like, just looking at what happened this week, that there's a limit on what you can do and still be
yeah,
able to weigh in less than what you did. But you want to define what that is. And that you've kind of honed in on what works for me during the week. What is it that I can have that makes me happy, that makes me feel like I can counteract some of the stress of my day by looking forward to something. I could push those candy bars into my diet. How many can I get away with eating while still on Friday weighing in less than I did the week before? And you wanted to see how far you could take that, and you've done exactly that. You've seen what the limits are, and all you have to do then is back off from that, which is what you just stated. You're taking whatever it is that you were consuming this past week, saying, well, that was, I overshot, so I'm going to have to pull back. I'm not getting rid of it. I still need it there. I feel like I need it there to be able to have something that's part of my day that I'm excited about. And I'm just going to reduce the quantity. So instead of 2, it's 1. And with that 1, does it kickstart back? Probably. It probably will. That's probably all that you need to do, as long as the weekend is not egregious. It's probably just going to work, getting your protein meals in, your low carb meals, and having that candy bar there for you to be able to consume. It would not be a horrible idea if you decided to possibly only have 1 on hand when you're at work. In other words, bring it with me and have it there, but I have my 1. I don't have 2. I don't have 3 or 4. I don't have them on hand, because if they're on hand and things get a little bit dicey, very easy at that point to throw it out the window. And if on a Thursday you get really ambitious and decide, I'm not doing a candy bar today for some odd reason. I feel like I can do it. Don't bring any with you. That way, if you get weak, it's like I don't have the option. So you've created that space between the weakness and being able to take action that you could think and maybe stop yourself from having to locate one wherever that might be. But if you have one on hand, it's just so easy to be able to grab it in literally in an instant and not even think about what's happening and take advantage of that. So having pre-planning the fact that this is going to be part of my diet for the day. I'm going to have this candy bar and this is going to be my treat. And I'm going to judiciously choose when I consume this. If I'm going to consume part of it at this time, part of it and another time, or I'm just going to leave it there for when I feel like I need it, whatever, however it is you want to handle it. But you know what's there and you know what you get to consume. And you know that you have that as part of the diet. And you know that it's there. Try to savor every single morsel, please. Consume it with care is what is really what I beg you to do. I always try to savor those meals as much as I can because I don't have them often enough. So if I have a cheat meal, I ramp the speed down and I just try to just enjoy every single bite because if it lasts longer, it makes me more satisfied than if I just gulp that thing down in 2 bites and then it's like I need like 10 more. Like
Yeah.
at that point, I have this took so like 5 seconds of enjoyment is not enough. We gotta push that out as far as we can. Uh, but as long as you have that there with you and you know this is going to be part of my day and it's not going to go beyond that, I think that's the remedy going into this next week. It's that every day at work you got your structured whatever it is that you're normally consuming on the low carb front, and then you got that treat, and that treat's going to be consumed whenever you think is right. But you're not going to have the ability to consume more than that easily by just limiting the amount that's available.
That makes total sense. I gotta limit what's on hand.
Yeah. You just don't. Ultimately, we know that if there's 5 there that we've known from past experience, that if there's 5 there and things get tough, they could be all gone in a moment's notice. So, just making sure that you've got that covered. That's the intentionality that you need, so that way at least you reduce the risk when things get tough, and you want to maybe overextend that. You might be able to take a step back because you can't easily access it, and it's just not readily available at that given moment. Is Have you noticed that now on Thursday where you ended up eating that candy bar and you decided that this was something you weren't going to do and then you did it because of stress? Have you noticed that other times during the week, in this past week, that you've been in situations like that where you've consumed more than you thought you would going in, or did you basically stay because you were going for no candy bars on Thursday? Other days you were consuming a
I
couple.
was.
So were you limiting yourself to 2? Were you going in saying 1 and then it ended up being 2, or how did it end up for the other days?
Yeah, probably told myself 1 mentally going into a day, and then figuring if there was a day where I had 2, that wouldn't be a life
Yeah.
changer. But I'm pretty sure every day I said 1, it ended up being 2, and then
Yeah.
you know, so that at that point I wasn't overly alarmed. But yesterday was the day when I told myself I was going to have none, and I
Mhm.
just couldn't do it. That was
Yeah.
the one that really stood out to me. But yeah, if you look at it on the whole, I probably had to every day and went in with intention, maybe not as strong as Thursday having none, but I went in with intentions of basically just having 1. So
On those work days where you had a couple and you thought you were going to have 1, at least that was the goal, and it ended up being more. What was the rest of the diet looking like? Like, what is it that rounds out your day approximately? What is it that you're consuming when it's not a candy bar? Because
Yeah.
we've been really pounding the candy bars to death,
Yeah.
and it almost seems like you literally live off candy bars 24/7, and
I
there's
know.
nothing else that goes into this. So what would
No.
end up being comprised of a normal Wednesday other than candy
Yeah.
bars?
So like a regular weekday, I'd grab 2 biscuits with, sausage and egg,
Hmm.
and take the biscuits off and just eat the sausage and egg
Yeah.
from, from a restaurant. And then,
Hmm.
if I eat that around 7:30 in the morning or so, that gives me a good start and holds me over till close to lunchtime, maybe at 10:30 or 11. Um, and then that's pretty consistent. And then lunchtime, I'll generally have like chicken breast, um, some other meat, and an occasion if I need something crunchy, I might go to like pork rinds or something like that
Yeah.
with a diet soft drink.
Hmm.
Um, that it's basically all protein that I'm
Hmm.
consuming at those meals. And then dinner, it's probably again basically protein. I'm having chicken or um, some other meat source. Could be steak, could be um, those, anything, hot dogs, even. I
Yeah.
mean, those things will work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just been, this is just, if I don't like the feeling of going backward, um, that, I haven't had that feeling in a long time. So I'm not pleased about that. But I do think there's something to what you're saying as well about coming off the break. And so my resolve may not be where it once was in, months past, where I was so determined and locked in with intensity. Um, some of that intensity might have edged off.
Can we get it back?
Yeah, I
I
hope
need to
so.
know. What I need to know is what was your answer?
I hope so. I
Oh, no,
hope
no, no,
so.
no, 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 no. I don't like that answer at all.
This is what I'll tell you. It will come back. I can say that. I just need it to. I need to find how to bring it back faster. Um. Yeah. Yeah.
You look defeated. I mean, if I'm looking in your
Yeah.
eyes, and I know
Yeah.
you, I'm good at reading people. I'm
Yeah.
especially good at reading you. You look dejected, and I don't
Yeah.
know. I, I, I know this factors into, obviously, the fact that you didn't lose weight this week factors into that. Is it more beyond that? Is there something beyond the fact that this scale didn't go down this week that is playing into the fact that you're just feeling a bit down and maybe contributed to the weight gain? Is there something, like, if you had lost a pound this week, would you have been so ecstatic and you would have been in very big smile on your face and you would have been happy go lucky? Because it feels like, yeah, of course it could just be this alone, or it could be just the aggregate of everything that is has just caused you to sort of feel as if you're no longer, you have that inspiration that's carrying you through, that you've had for the past 4 months.
Yeah, I mean, I think the health setback, I don't want to make that an excuse, but I think that was
Well, it's reality.
affecting my mentality a little bit.
Hmm.
And so yeah, that probably has taken a little bit of my enthusiasm in general for everything away
Yeah.
to some degree.
Right.
And so
Right.
I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm depressed or anything like that. I don't think that it's like, I'm going about my daily functioning just fine.
Yeah.
My interactions with people are totally fine. But I'm probably more subdued in
Yeah.
general, like not as probably not as just I don't know what my normal personality is when
Yes.
I'm just
I know what your
at
normal.
ease and just happy go lucky.
Yes.
It's probably not on that level right now.
Yeah. It's a mild depression for sure. It's anybody that experiences a setback is gonna go through those same type of emotions. And some people handle it better than others. Some people spiral all the way down, and then other people are able to, stay afloat. And you're staying afloat, no problem. It's just this part of it, the fact that this is part of your life. You're trying to achieve something that literally it's literally contradictory to what it is that your brain wants to do when you're depressed. Okay. I mean, there's a literal, I mean, think about this. I'm not feeling great, so I want to eat. Like, I want to enjoy that's the way that I can enjoy myself. Guaranteed I can have a great time if I'm eating foods that I love, and lots of them. But there's this guy that keeps forcing me to show up every week, and he makes me step on a scale, and that thing's supposed to go down every single week. And how do we reconcile the two? So this is this is it. Like, if you want to talk about like the pivotal moment in this entire process, it's this. It's Jeff at a lower point in life emotionally. What does he do going forward? Because the old Jeff, I can guarantee you, I mean, there'd be no more diet. The diet, there'd be no effort at a diet. It would be completely pushed to the side, and we'd be going up on a weekly basis over and over and over again, and wouldn't even know it because you wouldn't be weighing yourself. It would just be so far gone from having this as a goal at all. So now that you're in it, now that you know, like, there's a situation, I'm not feeling my best mentally, but I'm still showing up every week, and I'm still going to be weighing in, and I'm still going to be going through that process. How can I make this work? How can I reconcile the two? And it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be an easy task, obviously, because you're in a position now where whatever you were eating before, the amount that you were eating before to get you to where you are right now, 26.7 pounds lost, whatever it took to get you there. Normally, you experience a setback like this, and you're going to want to eat a lot more than whatever it is that you were eating before. It's just going to be, that's the natural temptation. That's what would cause Thursday, where it was no candy bars to one candy bar. That's where the one went to two. But you look at that fact that I just shared with you, and then on the flip side, you say, well, because I'm on this plan, throughout the week, if I had a plan to eat one candy bar and I ate two, it's a heck of a lot better than what I would have done if I wasn't on this plan, because I'd be eating a lot more than two candy bars, and I would
True.
not be eating protein only for any of those other.
That's true.
It would be just out the window as far as what would be consumed. It would just be those biscuits that you start the day with, which I was initially horrified because until you got to the part of tossing the biscuit, because I said, okay, it's interesting that we're focusing on candy bars when this guy's starting his day with biscuits, but those are tossed in favor of the protein. Well, they would not be tossed in another lifetime in these circumstances. So and this is something that you need to take to heart. Obviously, it doesn't overcome the idea that I gained weight this week. I wish I hadn't. I wish I could get away with what I did on a weekly basis. It would make things easier. Obviously, it makes things a lot easier if you could do whatever you did this week, every single week, and I can cash in a pound a week. Maybe that's livable. Maybe that's something I could stick with. I wouldn't have to, pushing the limits beyond that. Maybe I can settle on that. But now it's taking a step back, and that's a challenge. It's something you haven't had to do this entire time. You haven't had to step backwards in terms of what it is that you're doing and say, I'm going to take something away. You were testing the limits to see what can I add, how far can I go, and still achieve results. So it's uncharted territory, but that's the whole point of this process. This is a lifestyle. So life is going to give you curveballs. It's going to give you unexpected events. It's going to take you down certain paths that you don't expect, and it's how you react to those that's going to dictate success or failure in the end. So week to week, we address it as it happens. You make tweaks that you can get away with, that you can live with, in order to try and reconcile the two: the diet that you want to enjoy, plus combine that with what you need to do to get weekly progress, and trying to juggle the two as best you can on a weekly basis. I think this week and that weight gain, I want to try to spin this as you should be overjoyed. They should be over the moon. This is the greatest thing to ever happen to you. It is a positive because it allows you, at this point in time, it allows you to recalibrate and to know what it is next week. I'll just make some tweaks and see how things go. The pressure isn't there. The pressure isn't there for this to turbocharge to 2 pounds a week. There is no pressure. It's going to be a weekly look into what it is that you do and what that leads to. So regardless of if next week it ends up being a pound down, or if next week it ends up being even, or whatever next week happens to be, it's just another experimentation week to see what happens when you decide to tamper things down a bit. If you successfully do so, which I think you can, I think going in with something that you know that you can do and limiting yourself to that, as long as you try and eliminate the possibility of doing more, I think it can work in your favor. I think you can accomplish that. And I think just being more creative, maybe with your other meals, like try to get as best you can excited about protein meals. Like I love ground beef. I love steak. There are certain things that are no carbs that I just enjoy. Bacon. There are things you could have that are going to have no carbs, that are going to not influence your insulin levels, that are going to initiate fat burning. You can have fun with, and it's a shift. It's a mindset shift, because obviously now you gravitate towards the carbs and the sugar, and that's a habit that's been built over many, many years. And I don't expect that to disappear. But if some of those other meals become more interesting to you from the standpoint of protein and fat, then maybe that excitement towards those meals can become a mitigating factor for having to rely on more of the carbs than you really can get away with on this diet. So just trying to think of ways that you can maybe just create some enthusiasm over the fat and protein meals, because I know in my case, I do get excited about that, but I'm a freak, so you can't base anything on what it is that I do in my life and expect that it's going to apply to you. But I do think that if there's a way for you to just get really, really pumped up about some of those higher fat meals, then maybe that can help at least to keep you within a carb level on those other meals, within that one candy bar on Thursday, and throughout the week on each of those work days. And then the weekend will be looser. So, that's going to be the way it is. You're going to have a looser weekend. It's really those weekdays. I think the key is those weekdays, work days. How do I hone in on those work days? What do I do? Do I keep it mainly low carb with one candy bar? If you do that, I think you're back on track.
I agree. It's
I
at
think that
least,
needs to be the goal.
that's where I feel like is a realistic goal. I don't know what the outcome of that will be this week, to be honest with you, but I know it's not going to be worse than this, because it's going to be intentionally lower threshold of carbs. So, and I feel like it's achievable, especially if I remove the temptation of having anything additional on hand other than the one per day.
Yeah.
So I think that's where
the game plan.
Yeah.
That's the gradual progression. That's the game plan. So if that works, it could very well jumpstart your progress. You could be down again next week. That works, and that's a successful game plan for this past week. Then we try to mimic that as best possible and see how far it can carry you forward. Because you're not keeping track. This is what's important for people to realize. You're not keeping track. You're not journaling your foods. You're not going through and writing down exactly what it is you're consuming at any given moment. Uh, your goal is to keep carbs as low as possible. And when I say as low as possible, I mean as low as possible. So when you're going into a day and you know I'm going to have a candy bar, well, that's how low they're going to be. They're going to be as low as 0 plus the candy bar. So you just know that that's what I'm going to have. Like I have to look forward to that. Fine, that's no problem. We know you can lose weight doing that because you've done it. How many candy bars have you consumed since we started? I mean, if we add them all up,
a healthy number.
Yeah. I know, very healthy. I mean, you had 5 in one day and still lost weight. So, point being, or 10, depending on how you look at it. But point being, we know full well that you can have fun and still lose weight. That it's just how much fun can you get away with, and that was the kind of the test throughout the past 4 months was that, like, how far can I go? I think that there's going to be certain weeks that could be anomalies too. You can have a week where the weight goes up because of water weight fluctuation. That's not necessarily indicative of you having done anything truly astonishingly bad by any stretch of the imagination. So that's why anytime someone looks at a week and tries to microanalyze every single thing that happened, it's a mistake, because you could end up repeating that week. I'm not even suggesting this. Please don't try. We've already come up with our plan. We're sticking to it. But I think the direction I'm going to go. Unfortunately, I started my sentence when I shouldn't have.
That's okay.
You could end up repeating that week and still lose weight the next week. We can try that in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't need to test fate.
I don't feel the need to test fate right now.
Yeah. No. I just want to say I'm incredibly proud of everything that you've achieved. I think that this is a learning experience. It's not written on paper. This is exactly what you follow each moment of the day. That's not the kind of plan this is. That's not the type of plan that's going to work for you. This is a week-to-week routine, so that way you can live your life and enjoy it as much as possible while still achieving results. It has been wildly successful. 26.7 pounds lost. A tremendous achievement. And you're basically almost halfway to the 300, under 300 mark from where you started. So that's incredible. That's something to be very excited about. I can't light the fire underneath you myself when it comes to, I'm looking at what I've achieved and I really want to get under 300 pounds. And that's really something I'm becoming so passionate about. I'm passionate about it. I know that I'm like living my life every single time that Friday kicks in with that image of the scale. I can't wait to see what it says. That's what it does for me. And I know that you've been excited throughout this entire journey because of the setback that you experienced. It's natural to have to rebound from something like that and try and get that back. The further removed you are from it, the stronger you get. Time does heal all wounds. It really does. And the fact that we continue to do this every week is going to be that catalyst behind getting you back under 300 pounds. This is the next half of our journey is coming up, is to get you below 300. So I'm going to be here every week. You're going to be here every week, whether you like it or not. and you may not like it nearly as much as I do, but when that number starts moving down again, I think that you're going to get that passion that seems to have diminished. I think it's going to come back. I think it will.
Yeah, I haven't lost sight of it. It's just the emotion isn't there, but the understanding and knowledge is there. So
Oh
the
yeah,
emotion's just
yeah.
not following it like it has been. But like
Yeah.
this is still on the forefront of the mind where I realize there's a lot more to go, but and it's not going to happen all at once. And that I, has been successful for a long time. So I'm not and you know, even with the setbacks, like I'm good, you know, you made good points and I appreciate it. Like I haven't melted down like you know, where I would just not even give a thought to anything at all. So I'm like I know that it's a temporary setback and it's not the this is not by any means the end of the story or the end of the progress, just a temporary situation.
Do you have the I know when this all started, you didn't know where it was going to take you, and neither did I. The whole point is it had to happen, so we were just going to take it week by week, and I'm extremely happy with what I'm seeing. I'm overjoyed. You know that. I make it abundantly clear, and starting off not knowing where you would be, and then seeing the weight loss that you've achieved, and um, how much excitement have you experienced over the past 4 months? Like, not discounting this past week. Like, were you? I mean, you appear when you meet to be enthusiastic. Obviously, you lost weight on every weigh-in except for this week, so there's reason to be happy. But were you getting that internal sense of a confidence boost and of a sense of achievement because your weight was declining, or is this like almost like a goal of necessity where you know full well that your weight is too high, it's unhealthy to be this way. I'm willing to meet with you on a weekly basis. We're best buddies. Give it a shot. You know, we can work together and see what happens. And was there ever a real strong desire to make this a reality, knowing what goes into the process? Because certainly, if you could snap your finger and weigh 250, you'd do it right now. I mean, that's not that's not a question in anyone's mind. But knowing that the fact that the diet changes that you have to make and the restrictions and such, um, is it something that throughout this process, just discounting this week, just in the past 4 months, that you felt like I really feel this desire to get my weight down 110 pounds. Is that something that's on your mind? Is something that's a truly a goal that I desperately want to achieve, or it's something that I just know I have to do it, so I'm going to do what I have to do to get there and not suffer throughout the entire process?
But the not suffering is important. Yeah, it's definitely top of the
It's
list.
critical.
Yeah, it is. But you know, that said, I've been thriving at the same time as not suffering, you know? So like that's been motivational and I feel my clothes getting loose. Like in some cases I'm getting different sizes already. Like this stuff is extremely motivational. And so I don't want that to get so far in the rear view mirror that, you know, I can't afford that to happen. So mentally it's still there, but um I don't know how else to put it, but I feel like my heart has just been hurt a little bit in the last couple weeks, and that's I I need to rebound. I guess I need to refocus and lock back into where my positive emotions are connected to these actions, because right now that's not that's not enough right now.
Well, that's why I said this is the ultimate challenge. You're up against something that caused in some internal sadness and disappointment. And when you're in that type of situation, gravitating towards eating more food and just being able to escape that's going to be the natural tendency. So it's to balance the two, to balance the fact that you're still on this weekly campaign to see where you can take your body. Trying to balance that with, I really want to try to escape kind of the feelings of the murky feelings that I'm experiencing. And the easy way to do that is I just eat more candy bars. I have more delicious food because that's always worked and it always does work. And it's just a guaranteed simple way to do it. Um, that's ultimately the challenge that anybody who's an emotional eater experiences. And normally when somebody goes back up, either they've achieved their goal and they get off their whatever diet they were on and they go back to not following any sort of strategy whatsoever and they gain weight, or they encounter some difficult event in life, something that sidetracks them emotionally. And then, in order to try and counteract that feelings of sadness and disappointment, they go and they start to consume the foods in higher quantities that they enjoy. And then they start gaining weight week after week after week. And then before they know it, they're bigger than they ever were. So that's what happens to people who aren't, on a strategy like we are, where we're meeting every week and we're actually capturing the weight and we know exactly what's happening. You lose sight of that and you're not weighing yourself every week, and we're not meeting and we're not talking and we're not having those conversations that are so important, and we're not bonding, or you're not sharing that with me. That's the direction that you would go. It would be just guaranteed. The destination
100%.
would be to just regain it all.
Yep.
You'll end up being 350s again by summer, is what it would end up happening, if not sooner. So that's the direction that anybody in that situation would end up. But you're not in that situation. You've made a concerted effort to show up here, have these conversations on a weekly basis, and that's what's going to keep you on track. So that way you can't get away with the damage that you would get away with in the past, which would be significant. You have to, every single week, you have to see what the last week was able to bring, and then you have to make a conscious decision. How do I balance that? How can I get through with the foods that I feel like I want to have, but at the same time moderate that enough to be able to consistently get my weight down slowly, gradually to where I want to be. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take it week by week, just like we have been. This is the turning point. You're up against what would have been a roadblock for you in the past. This would have been right up against a brick wall, and it would have been over, and we start going in the other direction. That's not what we're going to do. We're gonna just recuperate. And this next week, you already have a strategy in place. You're going to cut down. You're still going to be loose on a diet, but you're going to cut down on what it is you consume at work. You're going to have that strategy and see what it brings forth. And we take it next week and we see what we have. And we go from there. And that's the way this needs to be done. This is the way that you're able to get to the finish line. Week after week, anybody who's trying to overcome any sort of addiction, it's day by day. We meet every single week. We have data. We know what happened, and you're able to make those adjustments on a weekly basis. That's what's going to prevent you from getting your weight back up to where you don't want it to be. And we can pick up. It's always easy to pick up from where you're at and start bringing it down again. What's frustrating is when you look at a number like almost 26, 27 pounds down that you've achieved. What's frustrating is if you looked at that and then you saw that it all went away and you were starting all over again. That's what so many people experience over and over and over again. It's like, I just wish I was that weight again. I wish I was down into the 320s and not in the 350s, because that's what ends up happening to the vast majority of people. Emotional eaters who follow diets will just end up, something ends up happening in their life and they just get sidetracked, and then bam, they're right back up where they were before, if not worse. And then they look back and say, if only I had stopped myself from doing that back when this happened, I would be so much happier now, because I would be so much closer to my goal. That's what we're going to do. We're going to stop it. We're going to stop that from happening. We're going to put the brakes on, and we're going to recollect ourselves. And then this next week, we're going to see what happens. with these small changes that you're going to make, and I'm I'm highly anticipating Friday's weigh-in. Let me just put it that way.
Yes. I agree with
I'm pumped
everything you're
up.
saying. I'm looking forward to making what I feel like is a manageable adjustment at this time, and seeing how that works. And yeah, I mean, I think a part of this that obviously the communication weekly with you is tremendous. That's what gives me confidence that this is a short-term setback as opposed to the beginning of the end. If I didn't have that, then I'm certain it would be exactly what you just described, and it has been in the past. So that, but I think that reanalyzing every week and making decisions based on data and also where I'm at is important part of this. And I appreciate you taking the pressure off as best as you did. Yeah, just to meet every week and see what happens. But I don't have intentions of letting this get out of control. I'm disappointed by the outcome of the week, and so I am still focused on accomplishing the goal. I would say, you asked earlier, am I locked in on a certain number of weight loss? I mean, I'm probably not as zeroed in on the final numbers. I'm more concerned with getting under 300 as like a more tangible, closer goal to happening that would be an absolutely significant hurdle for me to cross over. That would be a tremendous win. And I'm not saying that's the end all be all, but that'd be a just absolutely colossal victory. And so that's where my mind is right now. Is I really just want to accomplish that first, and then and then then get locked in on another number. But that really I can't. If I'm doing this long-term approach, I feel like it would be harmful to me to look too far into the future. I need to break things down into shorter-term goals that are more tangible, closer to happening. And so that 300 number, knowing that is something that can happen in the spring, that's what I want.
It's got to be short-term goals. You got to have that desire towards something that's achievable within a reasonable period of time. You can't be looking at the big picture. It's all about right now, as you said, getting under 300 pounds is becoming more and more realistic. You're pretty much halfway there from where you started. So that's absolutely something that's within striking distance, and it's something to get very excited about. I know I am. I know that's going to be a cause for a giant celebration. Hopefully not enough to bring you back up to where you started, but it's going to be something that is a monumental event for the both of us. So that's what we're going to work towards.
Yeah.
And all right. So this next week's going to be an important one. Going to be a fun one for me because I get this. All I have to do is look at the weight. For you, you got a strategy going into it. I'm excited to see how that plays out. And the one thing I know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, is that you're going to be back next week. And that's the one thing that I want to leave you with. Given the circumstances, what you've been through, what you've experienced, it'd be very easy to just not be here. I mean, you don't have to be. You don't have to show up. You don't have to meet with me every week. You're not on the payroll, so you could very easily just decide to skip it and skip multiple weeks and just never come back. I mean, there's nothing forcing you here. You've decided to be here. You made that choice. So the fact that you're here and the fact that you're recollecting yourself and that you've decided to mindfully make some modifications to keep this train going down the tracks, I couldn't be happier. Honestly, I give you all the credit in the world for pushing forward despite everything that you have experienced over the past couple weeks, you've decided, I'm going to keep going forward. I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm showing up every week. We're going to do what we need to do together in order to get me to my goal. And that's the reason why it's going to work in the end. And we're just going to do whatever we have to do week to week to make that happen. So I'm proud of you. I love you. And I'm very excited to see you next week and discuss what it is that happened over the next 7-day experimentation to see if it's going to get you closer to your goal. And we're going to do what we have to do as a team to get to the finish line. So I'm confident. I'm confident we'll get there.
Thank you for sticking with me, brother. I need you. Love you.
I always will, man. I love you too, dude. I'll see you next week, man.
All right.
First, you didn't show up when you were trying to log in. No, Jeff. I didn't get any indication that you were trying. Then I logged out, logged back in. Then your name shows up. I say, let in. Nothing happens. Hopefully, that's not an omen of things to come for this episode. Because it's almost like it's indicating that you didn't lose weight this week. And we know that's not the case.
Oh, yeah. Of course not. And so that 300 number, knowing that.
Come back. He's gone. Oh, no. I hope he doesn't have a candy bar nearby. I 100% agree. Oh, no. He's gone again. Come back. What do we keep leaving for? You need to throw your cell phone off a cliff. Jeff,
Can you hear me?
why are you sideways? let's just keep going. We're not going to try to fix anything at this point in time. We're going to keep talking is what we're going to do. Look, you already got 26.7 pounds of bricks, lard, whatever you want to call it, off of your back over the past 4 months, which is a lot of weight, dude. Put that 25 pounds on my back and see how that feels. Not a fun thing to do.